This text is taken from an article in the national newspaper on the 20th of February 2025, written by Laura Pollock and entitled, Scotch Industry Hits Out at English Single Malt Whisky Definition Plan.
The Scotch whisky industry and the First Minister have slammed the UK government after it unveiled plans for a legal definition of English single malt whisky. Currently, single malts must be made in one single distillery, but now it has been reported that new rules would mean English whisky could be made in several different locations, drastically cutting costs for whisky distillers there. This has sparked fears of the market being flooded with cheap, low-quality products, ruining the reputation of single malt whisky. The Scotch Whisky Association and Scottish government insiders claim the plans could undermine the £5.4 billion whisky industry in Scotland. A spokesperson for the Scotch Whisky Association said, "This is entirely inconsistent with the reputation of single malt whisky, which is famous for its integral connection to place, and would undermine the single malt Scotch whisky category. It would be very damaging for the reputation of single malt whisky from the UK, and by extension single malt Scotch whisky, if English whiskies were allowed to describe spirit as single malt, despite being produced in a different manner to the established process and long-standing traditions of the Scotch whisky industry." This fresh attack comes after whisky duty was raised again in the Chancellor's budget, piling extra costs onto Scottish distilleries, despite the Labour Prime Minister's own pre-election promise to back the industry to the hilt. A UK government spokesperson said, "No decisions have been made on whether to recognise English whisky as a geographical indication, GI, the application process is ongoing." Meanwhile, First Minister John Swinney said today that the Scottish Government will make all necessary representations on this issue to protect the identity and the character of Scotch whisky.